All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, here's the thing. Today, we are looking at the rise of the leader of uh, Russia at the beginning of World War II, and that would be Joseph Stalin. Okay, so the other videos we talked about the rise of Hitler, the rise of Mussolini, and now we're getting to Stalin. Now, after Stalin, this is when we're going to start getting into what was happening, what exactly Hitler was doing in Europe. Okay, and then that'd be the entrance way to World War II. That will be next week. Okay, but today we gotta focus on Russia. Okay, and you're gonna see how Russia handled um, this turbulent era that they were in, and how one man basically took advantage of it, which was Stalin. But before we get to that, this is your warm-up picture. So you should already know at least two of those people on that picture. So the question asks you write down three things that you see. Okay, so again, you like I said, you know two people. There you go. There's two things right there. So go ahead and answer that. Second question, go ahead and answer that. All right, we're going to be moving on to the notes in three, two, one. Okay, so here's the thing. December 18th, 1879, in Gori, Georgia, not the state Georgia, like we have in the United States, but Georgia, the country in Russia. Um, Losif, I am not going to try to pronounce those two last names, but you can try if you want. Uh, he was born, but the thing is, the world would come to know him as Joseph Stalin. Okay, now his dad, uh, Bessarion, he was a cobbler. Now, I'm sure you're thinking like a dish? Like I heard a cobbler like a food. A cobbler, these were people who made, repair, and restored shoes. That's their name. That's what you call it when somebody takes some shoes and they can fix them up, or create shoes. They're called cobblers. All right. Now, his mom, Kativan, she was a washerwoman. Basically, she took clothes and whatever, and she like basically like a laundry, lady. Now here's the thing. Stalin actually went through some hard times when he was younger. Again, his family was very poor. They were not rich people, but they made ends meet. At the age of 7, he contracted smallpox. Now, a lot of people back then, when they got smallpox, they died. It was, you know, it took a lot of people's lives, but he survived. However, his face was scarred because of it. At the age of 8, he was in a carriage accident and he basically hurt his left arm. Now, the thing is, his left arm was kind of deformed in a sense. I mean, not like, the arm like bending this way or anything like that, but it was kind of, a little off a little bit, you know. Not too much, not like extremely noticeable, but it was deformed in a sense. Now, his mother wanted him to become a priest. She really, really wanted him to become a priest. So he did really well in the lower levels of school, like the elementary school, middle school, high school type of thing. And he actually was able to get a scholarship to go to a theological seminary school. So he was actually on the road to becoming a priest. But the thing is, in 1898, he basically joined this group, and this group favored Georgia getting their own um, independence from Russia. That they could be their own country in a sense. And they also mentioned socialism, so he supported that as well. They would read the writings of Karl Marx. They would listen to this guy named Lenin, who was talking and giving speeches and things like that. So they took their ideas and they ran with it. So although he was doing very well in school, he really was. I mean, he was like not like top A, the number one in the class type of student, but he was up there. Even though he was doing very well, he dropped out. Now, why exactly? It varies depending on who you're listening to. Some said he dropped out because he couldn't pay the tuition. Some say he dropped out because of his political beliefs. Again, supporting the independence of Georgia and things like that with socialism. The following the writings of Karl Marx and stuff like that. But while he left, he actually said, I need to get a job. So he mainly stuck to school in a sense. He was actually a tutor for several years, and believe it or not, he was actually a clerk. Clerks are people who organize and get files, things like that, um, at his old school. He actually got a job at his old school, fixing the files, being like kind of like a secretary in a sense, but not really a secretary, you know. Um, so then in 1901, he joins this group called the Social Democratic Labor Party and went full time revolutionary. Right, that's what his whole life was at that point. Okay, he was arrested numerous times, mainly for trying to organize and coordinate labor strikes. There's a picture of him from his little mugshot right there. Uh, Now, here's the thing. In 1902, after being arrested and tried for, trying to coordinate strikes, labor strikes, he actually gets exiled to Siberia. Now, some of you guys may remember, some of you guys may not, but I'll say it again. Siberia is in the upper part of Russia. It's a place where it's like that's a no man's land in a sense. It's cold. It's freezing, freezing cold, isolation, things like that. Um, and the thing is, he was up there. And it's at that point he changes his last name to Stalin, which is Russian for steel. Okay. Now, Stalin knows he lacks certain abilities. One, he knew he wasn't as great of a speaker as Vladimir Lenin. You know, he knew he wasn't as smart as Leon Trotsky. He knew he wasn't at that level, but he knew he was good at something, and that was his drive. He didn't just like fall back and say, "Okay, that's it. I can't do this no more." No, he knew um, how to get things going, and he didn't let things stop him. Because of that drive, he was able to set up meetings, publish leaflets, knew how to get things organized and get things going. So that was his ability. All right, so here's your midpoint question. Besides intelligence and the ability to speak well, what other qualities do you think a leader should have in order to be effective? Okay, so think about that. What makes a leader a good leader besides being smart and being able to speak well? So think about it. What else could there be? Okay, and why do you think this would be a great ability? Why is it important for a leader to have this ability? Okay. The second question I have for you is this. It's kind of a little curious one on my part. It's basically, have you ever thought about changing your name? You know, um, if you have, what would you want to change it to and why? You know, if you've never thought about it, like you're like, I like my name. Why? Why do you like your name? You know, is it because your mama gave it to you? Is it because you like the way it sounds? I mean, what is it um, another thing is on this question, because I hate to do this, but I have to put it on there because again, I know how some students are. No inappropriate names, okay? No side names, no type of street nicknames, things like that. Because again, remember, This is a school assignment that you are writing down stuff on your school assignment. So anything inappropriate, I will have to send it in. Okay. So do not put this. Remember, this is a school assignment, so the school rules do apply. Do not put anything inappropriate. Okay. Again, have you ever thought about changing your name to what? Okay. No nicknames. Again, no nicknames. None of that stuff. Nothing inappropriate. Okay. So uh, there's the writing prompts on the bottom for both of them. I did want to change my name to because, and then I like my name the way it is because. All right. So be sure you answer those questions. Okay, so here's the thing. Like I told you, Lenin is exiled. He's out in Siberia. Again, that area is so terrible. It's cold, it's isolated, things like that. But he was able to escape, and he was actually marked by the Tsar's secret police as an outlaw. So if they saw him, they could kill him. You know, shoot on sight type of thing. It was not necessarily, oh, capture him. No, if you can, cool. If you want to, cool. If not, kill him. Okay. Um, and the secret police people, you didn't know who they were because they were average citizens. They didn't look like, had like type of wear special clothing. They didn't have a, a certain job. Sometimes they worked as a baker, and all of a sudden on the side they would be the secret police, and they would get money for turning in people who said things. You know, So, thing is, while he was hiding, he was also raising money. Now, how he raised money for his cause was very shady. I mean, it was breaking the law. He would rob places, he would kidnap people, he would do extortion on people. So, like, in other words, he would find information about somebody high, someone who has money, whether that's like they have an illegitimate child, they had a child with the mistress, you know they were hiding something, they were stealing money from people, and so they're like, hey, he's like, give me some money of that, or I'm telling everyone you stole this money, things like that. One of his most famous things that he did that got him, well, not even famous, it made him infamous. And infamous is not the same as famous, guys. Infamous is different. Infamous means it's really bad, horrible, terrible thing you did. Okay, so know the difference between famous and infamous. And that was in the town where he went to school to be a priest. There was a bank there, and he robbed it. Now, the thing that made it famous, or should say infamous, is that he did it, and people knew him there. And on top of that, several people were killed. You know, and he was able to steal 250,000 rubles. Now, rubles is the name of the Russian money. Again, like in England, they have pounds. In Mexico, they have pesos. In Canada, it's loonie. Here in the United States, dollar bills. Okay. Oh, and Germany, marks. Okay. Then comes February 1917. Russia's in World War One. Things are going really, really bad, and that's when people are like, you know what, we need a revolution. And it begins by March. The Tsar, which is like basically their king, emperor, is put under house arrest. Now, the very next month, Lenin is telling people this is wrong. No, no, this is wrong. That the czar is just locked up and the government's running the way it does normally. No, this needs to end. The people need to rise up. The people need to take back the land from the rich. They need to take the factories away from the factory owners. And basically, from April until March, or sorry, October that year, um, there was a revolution, and it finally ended in October. and Stalin's group, which he was part of Lenin's group, won, and they, in a sense, took over the government. And this is a picture of Stalin in 1917. Now here's the thing: 1922, uh, Stalin is appointed General Secretary of the State by Lenin, which he's right there next to him, the guy in the bald head. That's Lenin. Um, Now this position didn't seem like, oh, it's gonna be so big and so great. Basically you're just like saying yes, 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 no. It was meant to this for him to decide who could or couldn't join the as party members. Okay, so he basically made sure people were loyal to the party, things like that. If they were or weren't, if you were, you got kind of special treatment. But if you weren't, you were seen as an outcast. You were seen as somebody who basically wants the country to fail, type of thing. So a lot of people wanted to join. But here's the thing: this is where Stalin kind of turns his back on Lenin. Basically, he's secretly putting people who are loyal to him in high political positions. He's giving them higher spots, and he's basically telling them, remember, are you loyal to me? Do you trust me over Lenin? Good. Show me. You showed me. Now here's this as a reward. You're going to have a better life. You're going to be appointed to this. You're going to be appointed here. You know. So by the time Lenin finds out what's happening, it's too late. It is really too late. And Stalin has all kinds of people who are loyal to him in high positions. Now, in 1924, Lenin dies. All right. And Stalin made sure to destroy the old leadership. Basically, he's cleaning house. Um, a lot of people were removed from power. Again, those people he didn't put up there were removed. Because again, he wanted his boys, the people who were going to be loyal to him, up there. Many of those people were exiled to Europe. Some went to the Americas. When I mean Americas, North America, Mexico, South America, things like that, Canada, United States, you know, all that. Then Stalin became kind of paranoid because remember, Lenin put him in charge and he, in a sense, stabbed him in the back. So now Lenin's kind of being paranoid, looking over his shoulder like, who's going to stab me in the back? You know, and he conducts this thing called the Reign of Terror. Now, the Reign of Terror, even though I put just this part, it lasts basically until he dies. Okay. He had people arrested in the middle of the night. This is the beginning part of the Reign of Terror. He had people arrested in the middle of the night and had a trial on the charges of being counter-revolutionary. That they would do, they were trying to do things that wasn't helping the revolution, wasn't helping the party out, that they were trying to undo the the way the government is, you know. And I've seen trial because their fate was already determined. They were going to be killed or, put into slave labor in a sense. Um, but to kind of show the people, oh, we gave them a chance. They had a trial. They put this showcase up. So here's my question to you. If you had a chance to take control of a country like Stalin did, basically put people in position to like help you take over, would you do it? You know, would you do it? Really sit. I want you guys to sit and think about it. If let's say the president put you in charge to put certain people in, make sure see if they qualified to be in a government job, yes or no, things like that. And while you're doing it, basically you have the power the capability to put people in different spots so that you could take over, would you do it or wouldn't you? Okay. So think of it like that. All right. Really, I want to know what you would really do. Okay. So go ahead, write it out. We're going to start again on notes in three, two, one. So Stalin, now that he's in power, believed in collectivism. Now, he did this as a way to kind of say, hey, if we take over the land, things like that, um, we can actually grow more food because we got more workers, we got more people doing things, we got the country moving. So we need to produce more food. And basically, the government should take over it, and we know how to when to grow things, when to take the crops out, when to plant, when to harvest, things like that. Problem is, it didn't work. Millions were killed in forced labor. People who were, again, people who went against him, they were forced to work in the agricultural, people who were in prison, things like that were forced to work. So they refused. They got basically beaten and killed. Don't worry, we got another people in jail who could do that stuff. Um, that was his mentality. And that was basically what they told people. If someone gives you crap, you can kill them if you want. There's more people we have in jail. The other thing was a lot of people starved because, again, a farmer who has his own land, he's trying to get as much as he can from that land. So he's going to grow at a certain time. He's gonna pick it at a certain time, based off of not only time but also the harvest. He knows this turnip is gonna be good soon. So get ready to pick it. Or, oh, the rains are coming. That's gonna destroy this crop. We need to take it out now and things like that. Um, so that's the kind of stuff that they do. But whether the government people, they didn't know anything about this. They just think, okay, this will be a good time. This will be a good time. And the people they put in charge of that, they were not farmers. They were, again, friends of Lenin, people who needed a job from him, friends of his, things like that. People were going to do favors for him, but they didn't know. They didn't know. So um, crops went bad. Harvest, the famine hit pretty bad. Disease in the ground. The soil, bugs, things like that. So a lot of people starved. The other thing he did was he installed a rapid industrialization movement type of thing. Basically, factories were working 24/7. They're pumping out stuff, right? This was successful. The factories in Russia were able to create and produce stuff at a fast rate. The problem was millions of people died at the worksite accidents. Again, some people collapsed, some people, not, you know, didn't get enough sleep, and so because again they're working them long hours, and machine goes haywire, and or they get their arm caught in a gear or whatever it may be. There are plenty of accidents that happen, and also the environment took a hard hit. Again, the ground, plants, smoke, smog, things like that. Um, the environment took a bad hit. Water was filled with the excess of toxic chemicals and lead and things like that. So that drinking water became hazardous for people to drink. Another thing he did was basically install this fear that if anyone resisted him, or tried to stop his plan, they were met with swift and lethal force, meaning they could be killed right there and then, easily. That or they would be exiled and sent to the gulags. Now, the gulags is, again, the prisons where they force these people to work, again, in the fields, things like that. Um, but it was a bad place to go. A lot of times when you went there, that was the last time people saw you. You know, a lot of people died there. Millions upon millions of people died in the Gulag system. Okay. Now, Stalin again is looking at Russia and trying to do things his way, make things quote unquote better. Um, but he's not an idiot. Far from. He's looking at how things are going in Europe. He sees the tense things going on, the tension between, Germany, Italy, France, Belgium, Poland, Britain. And the thing is, he's seeing, well, this guy Hitler, he's on the rise. He sees Mussolini. Okay, I see what he did in Ethiopia. Okay. But Stalin sees, he really gets Hitler. He understands what Hitler's true ambitions are. And he actually jumps ahead of the game. And what he does is he extends an olive branch, a peace offering in a sense, to Hitler. And he tells him, let's sign a non aggression pact, basically an agreement. In a nutshell, a non aggression pact is just what it is, what it sounds like. You don't attack me, I won't attack you. Okay. Now, he knows Russia is a big country. Again, Hitler knows Russia is a big country. So he's like, okay. They shake on it, they agree, and they sign the paperwork, things like that. And the thing is, this allows Stalin to focus more on what's happening in Russia and not really have to deal with what's going on in Europe. Okay, that's one of the main reasons why he did that. Okay, so here's the thing. The last question for you is this. Do you think the non-aggression agreement between Hitler and Stalin is going to last? If so, why? Why do you think it's going to last? If not, who do you think is going to break it first? Stalin or Hitler? Mm, okay, so again, there's your writing prompt on the bottom for both, uh, whichever way you're thinking. So if you're thinking the non-aggression pact is going to last, there's your first one right there. Why? Why do you think it's going to last? Second one, if you don't think it's going to last, why do you think it's not going to last? And then who do you think is going to break it? Hitler or Stalin? Okay. So that's it for this lesson. Hopefully you learned something new. So you looked at 3 people in the past 3 weeks who rose to power, basically from being poor to um, the leaders of the countries. Okay. Next week we start again um, the things that Hitler was doing uh, in Germany and basically the start of World War II. Okay, so be sure you're here for that, right? Um, Again, you guys, please, please, please take care of yourselves and your families. I do miss you guys a lot, and I'll see you in class. All right, so you guys take care and be safe.